Ladies and gentlemen, ring the alarm because WWE just basically destroyed SmackDown as we know it. As you know, SmackDown has always been 2 hours, right? For so many years. And recently, even though it's a 2-hour show, which is supposed to be way more digestible, it's been heavily regarded as the worst show of the WWE. Raw has way more interesting storylines, even though it's 3 hours. It seems to be a bit more fun. You seem to get some substance, some storylines moving forward, even though not too fast, because we're in the era of Triple H where everything has to happen in 20 million years of speed, basically. And yeah, you just gotta wait for the next pay-per-view and the next pay-per-view and the next pay-per-view and hope that something interesting happens. Anyhow, Raw was still better. Now, recently we heard the news that Raw was gonna go ahead and become 2 hours after it moves to Netflix, or even, right before it moves to Netflix, it's gonna start becoming 2 hours. And that was really something good to hear, because Raw is already really good. Now we're just gonna cut off the fat, the bad, the boring parts, and we're just gonna have just 2 hours of the best that we can have on Raw, and that's gonna dramatically affect the show and make it way more fun to watch. But the problem is, with the recent news, we've learned that Raw is 2 hours. That's great, but SmackDown is gonna take that 1 extra hour that Raw is missing right now and put it right on the top of itself, basically making it a 3-hour show. So what Raw was, now SmackDown is, and I hate my life. And I think, I don't want to say it on YouTube. I think I might get that yellow dollar sign. Now, you don't need me to explain why this is bad, but I think I gotta do it just to get the feeling off of my chest. God damn, SmackDown was already horrible. Absolutely sludge to watch. If maybe, LA Knight was cool. I kind of like Carmelo Hayes as well, but I know that's, or even like Andrade their feud, but I know that's not a huge sentiment. Even though the people like that, we can all acknowledge that that's not like a The Rock, Stone Cold type of level of feud. It's a small one. So now we're gonna have to have 3 hours of SmackDown. I can't even say it. I was about to say Raw. Ever since 2012 or 14, we had Raw 3 hours. So like, this is weird anyways. But yeah, SmackDown right here. Actually, I should show you. Shout out to WrestleOps. After Raw moves over to Netflix in January of 2025, USA Network will give SmackDown an extra hour of TV. And shout out to WrestleOps. Yeah, how do you guys feel about this? You guys pretty much know how I feel about it right now, but this is not good. Which show is gonna be more important? The show on USA Network with a lot less reach, or the show on Netflix? And if this is 3 hours, and if it goes with the same quality, just like, I don't see this being important. And you have Logan Paul here. Logan Paul, by the way, stated multiple times that he doesn't want to be in the USA Network, but he wants to go ahead and use Netflix as a platform and take advantage of it as much as he can to grow the WWE's brand, but at the same time, obviously grow his own brand, because that's so many millions of eyes, hundreds of millions of new eyes potentially on you when you're on Netflix. So why would you make SmackDown 3 hours? I'm actually kind of scared. Now, if both shows were still on a TV network, we could easily make the argument without even thinking that, okay, now that SmackDown is 3 hours, WWE is going to probably put a couple more important people there, especially because we just made the change to 3 hours. This is brand new stuff. So to make sure it goes down in our throats, pause. WWE is going to give us all the goodies. They're going to bring in The Rock on SmackDown and just going to make us forget. And by the time we realize what's going on exactly, it's going to be too late and stuff like that. But here's the thing. Why would WWE bring The Rock to the USA Network when Netflix is clearly the choice? Right now, you got to make Netflix succeed. And if you make Netflix succeed, well, speaking of success, it is the biggest amount of success you'll ever see in the history of your career as far as your exposure goes, and you can do so much with that. So I would think all hands on deck will be for Netflix. And so this 3-hour SmackDown thing, it might just become a little upgraded version of NXT, right? Because again, you don't want to waste your biggest resources like a Roman Reigns, like The Rock on there. And SmackDown is a great and a big show, but Raw from the beginning until this day has always been the flagship show, pretty much for the majority of the time anyways. And yeah, I don't see that changing. So this is really weird. This is really weird right now. And it confirms to me that Nick Khan still thinks that 3 hours is better. If he was able to do it, he would do SmackDown 3 hours and Raw 3 hours as well. If he was able to do it, maybe he'll get another show that's 3 hours, or make Raw 4 hours, or everything like that. He believes like the classic quote, content is king. And he himself said, yeah, longer shows are just better. And I mean, for business. I don't know if he speaks about quality. Obviously, he's not going to say, oh, the quality goes down, right? He's going to PR speak over and around that subject. But yeah, this is not cool, man. Come on. Why did we have to have these news of Raw going back to 2 hours and then SmackDown going to 3 hours a couple of days after each other? I feel like this is deliberate by the WWE. I think the best would have been to release these two news at the same time so that we don't get our hopes up and then get disappointed like this. But I guess the last thing I'll say before I get out of here is that besides SmackDown being 3 hours, WWE has a bigger problem. And I might even make a separate video about this by itself because it is a huge problem that I know, for example, one of my friends in Kiss the Ring, just Brian, talks about. It's a problem that makes you kind of want to take a break from wrestling. It makes you want to stop watching wrestling. And it's just the delayedness of everything, right? Every storyline takes 10 million years to take one step. I feel like I've been seeing the same Judgment Day segment for the past 20 years. And if you watch Triple H, especially during the Evolution era, I feel like every single storyline right now is the same as the Evolution storyline. Every single one of it. And it's just so weird. And there are so many weird booking decisions and just the substance is lost. The substance is lost. I can't criticize AEW of the same thing, right? Most of the time, they'll have this amazing dream match. And instead of building up to it properly, they'll do it the next week, immediately, and then just blow off the match and all the hype around it. Or they'll give the match some time, right? Put it a couple months later, but then they'll do no build up to it. The same is happening a lot in the WWE as well. A hell of a lot. So like I recently did Dropkick the Commute. I went on there and we talked about wrestling and my wrestling journey and all that. Such a great channel. And it was such a fun video to make as well. Just to chat with those two. You should 100% check out that video as well. But like they asked me, what excites you about professional wrestling right now? And the only thing I could come up with after digging a lot was Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness, because I just have a special place in my heart for Nigel McGuinness. I think it's really good. And just Raw moving to Netflix. I couldn't really say Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. I couldn't really say anything about the WWE. I mean, I freaking love Gunther, but like he's doing cool stuff, I guess, but nothing I'm like super excited about. Like if Gunther was doing Brock Lesnar versus Gunther, for example, then I would say, yeah, I'm 100% excited about this. But like right now, we're in such a stage of wrestling, and I feel like we've been in this stage for a couple of months now, especially after WrestleMania, where there isn't like one thing that I'm super excited about, that no matter what happens, I gotta watch every week to find out what's going on. And for a weekly episodic television show, soon to be, that's gonna be changing a little bit. I think that's kind of tough. I think that's kind of rough. And that's all I gotta say about that.